And we're back in the studio talking money. Who knows about money except someone like Wade the Man? Morning to you.
Morning, Oluwakayode. Morning, Lagos. And it's good to be here.
Yes. Welcome to the show today. By the way, let me find out. What's the full name? Is it just Wade or Wade Heme or Wade Gonome?
Just 4 letters. Wade. U-A-D-E.
That's just it.
That's just
no prefix, no suffix.
I stand alone.
Now only you are Kako. All right, but hey, we're back in the studio here, and for a minute there was a panic a few days ago, knowing that Naira attempted to dance Kelewu, but we brought it back to our piano, which is the current dance. And
is that what we're dancing now?
I mean, that's what you see on social media.
They say a piano came about from South Africa, yes. So we are dancing South Africa.
Yeah, brother. We are, you know, we localize everything. So you might have a piano there. When it comes to Nigeria, it becomes pianto, so that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a piano.
I'm a piano. Anyway, so a general overview. What's happening in the money market, in Nigeria's economy, finance? How does it affect us? What has the last 1 week been like?
Interesting. Inflation's figures were out last week, 33.2. Yeah. Jumped 1.5 basis points. Yeah. From February, dollar, well, it's dancing a bit of Palongo, Kelewu, Amapiano, but at least you can see some level of stability. CBN sold dollars to the BDCs, which I guess has kept the market more fluid at 1,021 naira. What else? Painkillers. The prices of painkillers have gone up 200% in the last 1 year.
Okay. I thought it's gone up again since last week. I was going to just...
Well, we never know. But like I said, CBN has been able to get some stability in the market. It's not just dancing yo-yo-yo anymore. So it's the dance steps are now quite orchestrated. The president is on another trip to seek foreign investors. He's going to the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, and so on. 200 million intervention fund for MSMEs and the manufacturing sector. What would be the impact? We'll talk about that in a bit. And what else? Servicing our budget, our deficit, our debt, which is something that we have to do because we are continually borrowing. I don't know if we've crossed the 100 trillion naira mark, but with the dollar, so most of our debts, fortunately, is in naira. So that's good news. It's although the foreign debt. And we know that the government is looking to borrow significantly from the bond market later this year. So let's see how it goes.
All right. And two talking points you've raised there. You spoke about the 200 billion naira presidential intervention fund. I spoke about the our debt and how we still borrow. And I'd like to also tie it in this talk about Nigeria losing its place as the strongest economy in
has that been confirmed? Well,
no, there are speculations. I saw a report that says we have lost.
Like the CBN has told us, let's stop speculating on things. Let's be sure. Let the figures come out at the end of March. Based on what the exchange rate is, we'll now see whether we've lost our positioning. Some people say we have gone from 1 to 4. South Africa is bigger than us. Egypt is bigger than us. I haven't seen that data. And until I see the data, I won't speculate on anything. When we see the data, you can be rest assured that Nairametrics will be the first to give you the detailed analysis of how it came to be and what it is. And even when our dollar was 1,000 something, we were not... We're still the largest country in Africa. So
how much more now? All right. But looking at that, this is where I'm actually going to, not whether we've dropped there or not, but I'm looking at the fact that, okay, if we were to drop, let's even say to number 20, of course, we don't want to. It's our pride that we're number one. We like that. But let's even say to number 20, number 50, whatever it is that we drop to. How does that really affect us? Because the volume of trade is still the same. The investment, FDIs is still coming in.
Not as much as before.
Not as much as before, yes. We still have our parties like we do every day. We do transfer when we are spraying. It won't make it exciting anymore. Or maybe we can do dummy spraying. Then when you count everything I sprayed you, I'll give you the actual amount.
Okay.
We'll
find
a way around.
We'll find the right colors for the papers.
and all that. But I'm wondering if you say we've dropped because the exchange rate is no longer, doesn't give us that strength we have. How does that affect an every Nigerian?
That's a good question. How does it affect the everyday Nigerian will be the fact that when you drop, it means that the possibilities of additional investments coming in might be a bit challenging. And when you don't have the right investment coming into, like we said earlier, 200 billion to the manufacturing sector and the MSMEs, where is that money going to come in? Foreign investors, are they going to be looking at the economy whether it has potentials? Nigeria's economy, we've always heard the potentials of the Nigerian economy, but we've not seen that potential, those potentials come into maturity and fruition. So that's really what the scare will be. Would those who want to invest in Nigeria be willing? Largest market in terms of people. But if the purchasing power drops, everybody wants to go where there's enough money to be able to protect their investments coming in, and people will actually spend in to ensure that those investments are creating new wealth for them. So that will be a major part of it, and that will be a significant it could lead to a significant drop in the level of investments that come into Nigeria, even locally. So what am I investing in? What are the opportunities available? How much do I need to invest now to grow it back to where it should be? But we've heard the president say that he wants the Nigerian economy to be $1 trillion within the next 7 years. Is it possible? Oh yes, it is. At a point in time, if we look at the economy today and base it to maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, or 12 years ago, we probably have hit a $1 trillion.
If we had continued at that
economy,
trajectory,
if we had been able to manage our exchange rate better, continue to improve the level of investment and growth in the economy. We at a point in time we're seeing Nigeria doing not double digits growth. What's it called? But we're seeing 8, 7, 8, 9. Today we're struggling between 2.5, 3.5, which for us at Nairametrics we say that cannot stimulate the economy enough. Developed economies doing 2%, 3%, that's huge. For developing economies, we should be doing double-digit growth in GDP, and that's something we need to consider.
Okay, and when you look at all this now, I asked that question because I threw the same question at Dr. Muda Yusuf yesterday. It feels like in Nigeria, you hear a lot of macroeconomic analysis. Oh, inflation is dropping, GDP is growing, blah blah blah. But the people always say, "Oh God, we know this here, So that's why I'm asking that if, for example, we drop, and the reason for this likely drop that people are talking about is not because anything has really changed per se, but it's because of our exchange rates that will now crunch our dollar version. But not to say, so even it means that even if we had improved in Naira terms, because our exchange rate is poor, it wouldn't give us that relevant growth that we expect. And it means that if we're doing all that, all those activities in here, and we're still flowing, but because our exchange rate is weaker now, like people still bring in import goods and they still sell. It's higher, they still make their money. People are buying houses. Last week I saw Transcorp Power. They declared some crazy profit. I'm like, wow.
So you
get what I'm saying?
So the issue is this: basics people still have to spend on. Electricity.
Yes.
Are you me? Transportation, food. Those three things are basic necessities for you to survive. Food for one. Prices have gone up. Maybe you're not able to
eat as frequently.
well, maybe not buy as much as you used to buy. Electricity bills, and even the state of power. And I'll relate that to the 200 billion that goes into the MSMEs. Fantastic initiative. Do you understand? However, the things that would help drive the velocity and the volumes of their trades, are you with me, or the production, are not readily available. Diesel prices going down as Dangote is continually putting more diesel into the market, like I said at another forum, that for as long as we're not bringing in diesel using ships from outside Nigeria that cost a minimum of about $1 million for you, because you can't bring 6 million liters in, so you have to bring that quantity. And if Dangote can meet that already, you take out that cost from the cost of diesel that comes into Nigerian market. So and that's fantastic. So once we begin to see these things, do you understand, improve, whether you are generating your power by yourself independently, or you're using public power, once we begin to see that those numbers come down in terms of cost, then you would start to see the growth that is required to drive the economy to the next level. And when you look at all those things and you look at the last, let me say 24 years, there has been spaces where Nigeria's trade and development has really skyrocketed when we had enough dollars in our foreign exchange. At the point in time, Obasanjo said he left, was it $60 billion in reserves? But you see, it's not just leaving those things in reserves, but actually applying them into the productive economy to continually generate and increase the velocity of trade. If most of that money is spent on importing, and we know one of the major things that have driven our reserves down is the fact that we've continually imported petrol. So if all those things start to, we've heard now, National Assembly went to the Port Harcourt refinery. Then the last stages, we've been hearing that for the last 6 months. So let's see whether those last stages will actually come. Like we say, it's going to come to reality, and those things are working. When you look at all that, so if people in the MSMEs, the manufacturing companies are able to, one, reduce the cost of power, which is a huge impact on their business, not just reduce the cost of power, but have stability in the in getting power, then you start to see more and more small businesses come back into where it's meant to be. If the fiscal issues are corrected in terms of levies, taxes that are paid. I was at a forum, and in the last National Assembly, there were at least 40 bills that had an element of tax built into them. So how many taxes? And you heard the chairman of the fiscal committee say we pay as taxes, and that's official taxes and levies could be as high as 60 in Nigeria.
Official.
We're not talking about the
They are non-commissioned officers.
No, well, I don't know about commissioning, but the unofficial levies and those are all taxes. So once we're able to bring that down, if we're able to come down to paying taxes in single digits in terms of numbers, then we start to see the impact of that. We start to see people invest more to grow more, and then reach a threshold where paying your taxes, having that change in orientation, becomes what people believe, that if I put my tax, about 83% of Nigerians don't believe they should be paying taxes because they can't see the expected benefits come to them, and which for me, and generally for everybody who tells you I will evade tax, is trust deficit.
True. Now, when you look at the 200 billion like spoken about, I mean, we touched on that already. Do you think? Okay, no, let's not go into. Let's go into the usability of this. Let's not go into all the other side angle I want to talk about. Now, the 200 billion. Is this the best way to use it? Because we have cooperatives that have direct access to the people. That could be, you can monitor who they are, because they give loans regularly to themselves. you have the microfinance banks, you have all this, some of this registered quote unquote loan sharks that are taking advantage of the people. Could we have gone through some of these companies? Because that would mean that, for example, the microfinance bank, you will empower them to do more, although it's your loan that you're giving to them. So they have a lot more to trade with. They make profit. The people getting the money makes profit. You're re-engineering the system. Could we have gone through this disbursement in another way?
Well, I hear you, and I really don't have the full details of how the disbursements are going to go, but I do think that it would most likely go through a system that would be transparent enough for people to get it. Like you heard the CBN governor say severally, they are not going to be involved in direct disbursements of what you call intervention funds, because this is an intervention fund, or I can't remember, but intervention.
Yeah, it
fund.
is the presidential intervention fund.
Fund. So once you understand that there should be transparency, people who get them know that the money is not you taking a bit of the national cake and not bringing it back, which like I say is the trust in a system. So I get the money. I know there are a number of them who will take it and put it into the business and return the monies. Are they going to the right people, like you said? So who have they been speaking with? How are they working out those modalities? Are things that every day for me should be in the press, and seeing those things working the way they need to work. So yes, is that being done? Maybe some of them will go through some microfinance banks. What's the criteria for getting them?
Yeah.
How do you push those things? How do you ensure you can regulate and audit all the people who push those monies into the system? Because we did a report not too long ago, the intervention funds from the last CBN administration. I think it was over 2 trillion. I don't have the figures in my head, but a certain amount of those that are past due have not been paid. And who did they go to?
Some of them are jackpot already.
Who exactly? So who do they go to? What kind of organizations have gotten them? Show us the register of people who have collected them. Are they truly?
Are they ghost? Not ghost workers here, but
are they companies that should actually have access to those kind of funds? And these are things that the government, the CBN, who is going to manage the process, need to ensure that their regulators are on top of it.
All right. Now, on this 200 billion, I'd like us to look at, because it concerns Nigerians. You have been at the forefront of personal finance advisory to the average Nigerian, guiding and showing ways to go. If I were a beneficiary of this, how would you advise a company or an individual to apply this? And what is the process? Using it and paying back. How should that go? Just an advice, a free advice.
So quickly, you need to first and foremost know what you want to use it for.
Okay.
Now, some people would use it for what you call generating assets, meaning that you probably want to buy a few equipment that is going to help you upskill. If that's what you want to use it for, use it for it properly. Some will tell you that they want to use it as working capital, meaning that monies that would help them continually get raw materials produced and then increase their level of production and growth. So for me, those are two things that need to be critical that you're using it for. My advice to those kind of businesses is don't use it to finance a lifestyle of the organization. Just pay salaries that are not going to, if the workers are not coming back, you are not producing anything. If you're paying, working capital salaries are part of working capital. So if it is going to increase productivity in the long run, raw materials are going to come in, you are going to be able to get in additional workers to increase your production capacity. If his machines are already available that you require, because most of these things at the end of the day, there's a certain amount, there's a certain time which you need to start paying back. So look at your business, understand your business, understand the best areas that you want it to go into, and not just collect. If you don't require it,
don't collect it.
Don't take it. This is simple finance. If you don't require external funding, are you with me? Then don't take it. If you can still continue with your bootstrapping from whether the profits that are made from the organization, then don't take the loan. Because what then happens is that you don't apply it into improving your system. But if you do require it, whether it's to use it as working capital for working capital management or to acquire new assets to boost your production, then go ahead and take it. Other people's money is good to use to do your business for as long as you can improve the growth of your business and you can pay it back.
All right. And with that now, let's take a quick look at something. Okay, let's not get into that. Let's just understand a bit of what is going on now. You touched earlier on debt servicing, which is an obligation that we have to do. But then many will wonder, looking at the constraints we have, the limitations on our budget, the budget deficits we have, if we're servicing debts and we still have so much planned, like the president has said, how are we able to ensure that healthcare, education, transportation, and other basic needs are met? Is that possible?
Nothing is impossible. We generate more revenue.
Okay.
We generate more revenue, but the first thing is we need to service our debts so that we don't get into a quagmire. You always speak about Ghana because you live in Ghana. Ghana is going through a lot in terms of trying to renegotiate debt servicing. Towards the end of last month, early this month, some of their debtors refused to realign their debt repayment plan. They didn't accept it. Fortunately, they have the IMF supporting them and trying to help them, manage that process. And they've gotten some funds from the IMF, gotten some relief from some of their debtors, and I mean. Some of the people who are provided, creditors. Sorry, my accounting. Some of the creditors, and at the end of the day, these are things that you don't want to happen. So you need to pay your debts. We need to get out a new fiscal regime in Nigeria that would help us manage that would change the structure of how we budget first and foremost, to ensure that specific percentages of our budgets are put into specific areas, and then we know why we need to borrow and where those borrowings will go into. What we tend to see today is we have a budget that says we have recurrent expenditure, capital expenditure, and debt servicing. And when you look at the capital expenditure, believe me, 80-90% of it, if you look at capital expenditure in this year's budget, just about 1.3 trillion will go into infrastructure out of the almost 10 trillion that you're using for capital expenditure. So let's say 10 trillion and 1.5 trillion is just, only 1.5 trillion is for infrastructure. Meaning that you have 85% in capital expenditure. What kind of capital expenditure are we talking about? Purchase of cars, purchase of software,
computers that cost 10 million naira. It's very,
those are operational.
Capital
Exactly. So do you need to spend so much? We've seen, and the NIN is a good example. Now they're bringing back what was happening in 2013, 2014, or 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013. Oh, we need to have the NIN that gives you the card access to everything. That solution, I was part of the people who that's how I registered for my NIN initially. It was that was like 10 years ago or 12 years ago.
You have your card?
Oh, I have that card.
But it wasn't activated, was it?
That's the issue. Let's focus on streamlining that, the access to the NIN database, which should be a singular database that every other database will pick up from, is properly done. That's not capital expenditure.
That's recurrent because you pay people who work everywhere.
Well, it's an asset, but it's a producing asset.
Okay.
Short-term producing asset, so that you can continually work. Infrastructure is different. Infrastructure is roads, schools, hospitals, new investments into those new structures that will in the future generate new revenue for you.
So if you're saying 1.5 trillion, that's even not up to the amount we need for the Lagos Coastal Road, the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road.
Even the 47 kilometers we're about to build is just about the amount.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so 1.60.
Yeah,
you know.
So that's it. So
we have so many other roads that we're building. Not to talk of
Let's
schools.
even leave the ones that you want to build now. The ones that are being built.
That's what I'm saying. The ones we are building, they are there. Then you have schools, you have hospitals. So we're talking about declaring certain states on hospitals.
We're waiting for the administration to bring out its new fiscal regime. That should clarify a number of all these things. That way, we can actually focus on the fact that, okay, this is how much we need for infrastructure. So if we're budgeting 100 trillion as the budget of Nigeria, and you say 30% must go into infrastructure, then you must be able to tie to the kind of infrastructure that you are going to. That's the essence of budgeting, not just budgeting to say, okay, Nigeria's budget is more like, let's budget, let's see how much we get, how much we want to collect, and then we'll just spend it.
Wow. All right. And let's see. The time is far gone now. There's a question I wanted to ask you that given the increasing financial... Okay, no. Let me just find out from you now. With the fluctuation of the Naira, can you answer this in 1 minute? I doubt.
I will try.
All right. How does that affect the daily budgeting and long-term financial goals of the average Nigerian to accommodate this uncertainty?
Well, there's been some stability in the Naira to the dollar now. At a point in time, every day it went up like 5%. It depreciated by about maybe sometimes 5, sometimes 10, depending on the average about 5%.
Yeah.
But now you have some stability. Like we continue to say, spend now, save later. The necessities that you need to get now, budget for them. The increments are not as the rate at which it is increasing is not as high as it used to be. So you would get some stability in terms of that. For those who are going to try and study, which are long term in nature, what you just need to do is plan better, plan your finances better, pay on time when you see some appreciation in the rate, and you have, like I said, you have the monies, spend now, save it later.
All right. Okay, I think this is a great place to draw the curtain right now on the show. We want to thank you for coming through, and Wade, for this show today.
Thank you for having me in the studio, and let's remember that you can join our Twitter Spaces on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Follow The Money with Ugodre on your sister station, Classic, every Monday at 8 a.m. And we'll be having a 2-day masterclass, May 9th and 10th, where we talk about the macroeconomy. For those who want to know and understand better how to sort out your personal finances, if you understand the macroeconomy, then you know you're on the right track.
All right, then. So on that note, we say thank you for coming through, Wade. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Kayode, for having me in the studio. Have a great day, everyone.
Wish you the same, man.